Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm. I'm still Grand Blueing, but in the background now. We got a show to put on. We are a little bit more than a week away from the next fan festival. But there's a topic we haven't really broached on this stream yet, and that is the most recent ultimate in that of Dancing Mad. Was it dancing? Was it mad? I'm sure you already have some idea, but we're going to talk about it today. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Happy, and of course joining me is Sly. How you doing, Sly? How's the Grand Blueing going right now? How's it going?
God damn it, use this move. It's okay. I'm Grand Blueing as well. There's always that one, whenever you AFK with Eustace, there's always that time and he'll just stand still and you can't do anything about it because you're AFK. But
that's
now
why you
I'm
gotta set up the
so
boss one, because that's never a problem when you do Lucilius ones.
Right. Because you'll always be moving on Lucilius slimes. Like you'll have that one slime that's in East Bumfuck, North Carolina, and Eustace won't go to it, but you just have to move the controller. But I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Hope you've enjoyed your week away from State of the Realm for that. But of course, we are but two lowly DPS, and asking two DPS to talk about UMAD is, quite frankly, one of the dumbest things that you could possibly do, because our opinion matters for basically nothing. So we decided to bring on the one role, one of two technically, but probably the most important one, who is allowed to have an opinion about this fight. And to that we have a healing expert. Healed it week one, got it done. We got Rinon here. How you doing, Rinon?
Hello, everyone. How's it going? I am not playing Grand Blue right now, AFK.
Why?
I kind of regret it. When you were talking
so much
about
fun.
putting it on, I was like, maybe I should AFK as well. No, I'll
yes.
And
Galanza go burr.
How have you been, Rinon?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Kefka's been fun. How about you guys? How about DPS?
Well, we'll get into everything for that, a little bit in the show. But we briefly considered talking about it a couple of weeks ago, but it was all DPS on, and it's like, again, it's just such a. Does everyone know the payphone meme? Everyone here knows the payphone meme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, DPS is payphone on that fight, minus like one thing, I want to say, I guess. Or at least what I've experienced. I don't know if it changes in the last phase, but the number of logs I've seen that say like 16 piercing talons or something in the last phase and it's fine tells me it's perfectly okay.
Pretty chill, yeah.
Like when we tried to broach the topic the other week about UMAD, and the repeated statement from Haps is we're not healers, we can't talk about it. I mean, you can as another role, you can, but like it's just like we thought this would be a kind of UMAD support group, but no, only the healers need that support group because of all the shit you go through and you have to do. So thus we're having this show, and thus we have you as the, I guess,
consigliere
trauma expert.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this. I need the support. I've been waiting weeks. Definitely, I need it. Please help.
Well, you've got two DPS in your support group, so hopefully that's sufficient for you. And all the listeners, they probably have more sympathies for you than the DPS.
Yeah.
DPS are just like, I don't understand. Why are we dying there? Healer's like, shut up.
I mean, it's a common fucking question. It's a fair question, but not in UMAD. No.
All right. Before I get started, shout out to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. We don't have any content locked behind Patreon. All of it's, stay of the realm. It is what it is, but extra means of supporting the channel. So thanks to anyone who takes the extra leap of faith over there and supports the show. Okay. So it's been, how many weeks has it been since it came out? It came out, the first week of June? I think.
It's been a month and some change.
It's been almost 2.
Isn't this like week 6 or something now? 5 or 6?
6. Okay, yeah, you're right. Week 6. It is week 6. I think we might be in the middle of week. Whatever. It's been about a month and a half, approximately.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It feels so long ago already.
It feels to me like Prog was just a week or two ago. It doesn't feel like Prog was like a month ago.
Well, you'll understand why I feel that way soon. Different story for me. But it's been quite the time, and this fight has definitely made waves in a variety of ways, I would appear. Reputations of the early prog versus the mid to late prog, as it so stands. Sly, I don't know if you've managed to get any time in there.
I have not dabbled at all.
Okay.
I have not dabbled. I in like my usual raid team, like they are the majority of them. Use this move. The majority of them are in it right now, so I figured it would probably be something I would do kind of towards Evercold, like when there's actual time, because we're coming up on August and September and Broke Timber and Broketober and all the games. Yeah. So I don't even know if I'll get time before Evercold. Well, maybe December probably. Late November, December.
I bet you think it's open, but it ain't.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck.
Me, I did hardcore hours for 6 days and then did like some longer hour days, but after like the third week, we didn't really get much time in there, so I kind of just stepped away from it towards the end of phase 4. So kind of not too far from the finish line, but unfinished on my behalf, and I'll just get back in there at some point. I'll do Ulti Project or something and get it done, just so I can get the 10 achievement points in the title. And Rinon, what was your week 1 experience like? What was you're cleared, as I've already pretensed with that. What was the first week like for you, and when was your clear? So everyone knows.
Oh, I'd have to remember that. Fuck. So, so we did, like me and my friends did prog. We did 14-hour days, I believe, and I think we killed on either day 8 or 9, something like that. It was a really fun prog. The first half of prog went incredibly smoothly, as we experienced the first phase was pretty simple to get through. Forsaken, it's fair to say, was a bit of a wall. It took a while, but once we built, we worked really hard on building a strat that had a lot of consistency and was like intuitive to get through, and we got through really fast as a result. Right? I think we saw phase 3 early day 2 or mid day 2, something like that, and then we got to phase 3 and we got to Black Hole, and I believe we spent 2 days straight there before seeing phase 4 at all. It was a nightmare of a hurdle, just because we couldn't find a way to make it consistent without normalizing all of the movement. Eventually we got through phase 4, phase 5, I think a far more simple affair and more of a consistency check than that which came before. We ended up clearing like relatively quickly. It was a really fun prog. I have a lot of thoughts about the fight, but prog itself was very fun. It felt a little bit more relaxed than the Omega Protocol, roughly on par with what Dragon Song's Reprise was to prog, for me at least. But it was interesting to heal, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a reputation on this fight. As again, everyone will hear me say it several times. It's payphone for one role and not so payphone for another. Well, I guess there's nothing to it but to start right at the beginning. I'm a little curious though. What was your prep for this like? Because I've had a lot of guests talk on the show, and everyone kind of has a different outlook on how prep should be going into an ultimate and what you're planning to get out of it. Did your group do much prepping?
We prepped for, I would say, about a month before prog. We started getting together like 2 days a week to prep. We didn't do too much. We made like a Kefka challenge mode that we did, where we just made us resolve the mechanics in a more difficult way. We went through all the old Omega fights again at min-eye level, just so that we had a recent like understanding and refreshed our memories of how the fights would work. We didn't really do much else, honestly. We didn't prepare all that much, I don't think. A lot of our prep was just in theorizing from the trailer how things would work in the actual game. So like, for example, in the trailer, Kefka shows the double tank buster with the trines, right? So when we got there in game, we just did it immediately because it was the same as the trailer. Stuff like that helped us a lot more, I think, than any of the prep in other fights did, because the fight ended up just being really different to anything that we could have prepped for in the first place. And I feel like that's pretty consistent in Ultimate Prep, honestly.
Yeah, is this
How
more
beneficial?
Or less... Oh, sorry, Sly.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say if it was more or less than you usually do, or ask.
And this is kind of for both of you. How do you? This is kind of for both of you. How beneficial do you think it is having that? I don't know, few seconds of knowledge from a trailer going into a fight?
I think it can be really useful. It depends if you read it right. There's definitely been cases where, because we do it because it's fun, right? I think it's really fun to just sit down and think, how could this work and how would you make a strat around it? And that can be really beneficial if you get it right. Whereas if you get it wrong, you're like playing out a strat the first time you see it completely wrong, and everything is going to go bad, and you don't get to test the things you want to test to get through it quickly. So it's like a dice roll. It just depends how confident you are that you've understood what the assignment is asking of you straight away, right?
Yeah, I try not to take the trailers too seriously. We have had cases where mechanics change between the trailers and the main, but that was something that's so simple. It's like, okay, well, if there's trines and tank busters, the only question was, is there a consistent part of this? Like, is it always the center trine that goes off last? You know, if it is, then the solution becomes very simple. If it's not, then you have to start theorizing other ways. In that particular one, we went in assuming the center trine would be last. Our one use case that we got, like our first pull, obviously also had it, because that is indeed how it works. And that just makes it super easy. I mean, that's literally like Snake Prio, instant solve kind of situation that just becomes a matter of people being able to use their eyeballs, which you're sure hoping by that point they can, after doing Forsaken and using their eyeballs the entire time there.
The funny thing from the trailer was that, you know, when when this fight released, there was that bugged trine that was like turned around. The trailer has that trine in it, and that's the thing that made us confused, because we were like, why is this random trine just turned around from all the others? Is that part of the mechanic? And
is it a question mark trine was the question.
Yeah. Literally, we genuinely spent like 2 hours in call together, like theorizing, like, why is this trine turned around? And it turns out it's just bugged, and they didn't see it.
That would have been a good idea, to question mark a trine and do it exactly that way. I'm not going to lie. I would have been
that's
very
exactly
okay
what we thought was happening.
So yeah, it could be rough, Sly, at the end of the day. I remember, but before you ask this, I remember using the trailer for Pandemonium's second tier, and the tree literally has a mechanic in the trailer that never happens in the actual fight. Like an arrangement of mechanics that never happens. So
one thing I did want to kind of ask in regards to kind of preparation, because like when you talk about ultimates, like, and I hear so many people kind of, you know, have their opinions on, well, how to prep, how can you really prep for an ultimate, right? There are certain things you may know. I mean, you do see a bit of Omega in there, a bit of other Omega fights in there, obviously, but like there's not a way to one-to-one know what exactly you're going to get. So outside of, you know, getting your group together to kind of, you know, go through the motions, kind of mesh well, all that jazz, like what's your opinion on, what is both of your opinions on prep for ultimates? Do you think it's beneficial? Do you think it, at the end of the day, it really helps, quote unquote?
I think like more important than practicing in game and like figuring out, oh, this is what we'll do for this mechanic and things like that. I think what is way more beneficial is like having a system as to how you want your group to solve things together, right? You can often run into a situation where you'll see a new mechanic and 7 people have the best idea in the world and they all want to speak at the same time, and it becomes a nightmare, and you can't have that. You can also have the situation where everybody sees the mechanic and they sit there in silence and they go, oh, so what are we doing here? And you can't have that either. So like the thing that we found very useful, and the thing that we like focused on rather than in-game, was just how are we going to communicate with one another so that we can solve this together. and we made not dead set rules that we had to follow, but we made like a series of rules of like, this is how we'll talk about when we're VOD reviewing a mechanic or when we're solving a mechanic. And I found that was really helpful, because ultimate progs are really drawn out, right? You're going to be there for a week, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but roughly a week. So it's okay if you spend an hour VOD reviewing a mechanic, if it means that you get a consistent strat out of it. So what's really important is that you can communicate to get there, even if it takes longer.
Yeah, I've always found that for the supports, it's far more important in terms of the actual gameplay. Final Fantasy XIV, I always say, is a very static game. If you know how to play Final Fantasy XIV, there's nothing the game can throw at you, even if it's like surprising or quick reaction, that has to do with the way the game plays that can really trip you up. It comes down to you individually, how you learn, how you address something, and how you even like logically solve. Like, there are sometimes like you could have the greatest player imaginable, but they'll have that one type of mechanic that they just do. They have like the inability to process it at the same speed as everything else. And those are the things that you kind of learn just from playing, but prep can really help expose those things within the team and help your team figure out how to communicate with you to make sure that on any given pull, the thing you're struggling with is not something you're going to be struggling with, and it becomes a consistency problem. So learning how everyone learns, which ties into what Rin's talking about, figuring out how to make discussion optimal is big, but also the supports actually just understanding how the other support plays, how your two healers play together and how your two tanks play together. Sticking two supports who have never played together is not a matter of just knowing how to play the game. There is definitely a gelling that needs to happen in some capacity to make sure that a prog experience is consistent. The 4 DPS just high five each other and hit the boss. So for us, I don't think we get nearly as much out of it as the other rules do outside of the learning principles.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Like, I think with, like, I've had the privilege where I've been playing with the same co-healer for 5 years now, so we don't have that anymore. But I think that supports do need to gel together a lot, because some supports have like different tendencies. For example, tanks, you might have a tank who prefers to drop stance rather than shirk and things like that, right? And these are things that you will run into issues if your co-tank isn't aware of the tendencies of the other tank. The same with the healer. So you like actually running duties together and getting used to the way that you play and trying to mimic a prog scenario is really good for supports, whereas DPS is just, okay, we press the 2 minutes here. Yeah, okay, thumbs up, do damage. And that's about all you can get from it.
Yeah. So I always feel like I get really bored during prep and maybe other people don't. And I probably shouldn't get as bored. I don't try less, but I'm just like, yeah. It also is really good if you're playing with a group of people that even if you're highly skilled, they haven't been playing the game for 13 years. Because if your ultimates are always old fights, and fight knowledge goes a long way even with those older fights. So them teaching them to recognize mechanics that they've literally never done because they've never had a reason to do that fight at mid-item level, Awk Trail item level, whatever, is also very important. At least in my opinion.
I don't know.
That's all. Yeah. At least in my opinion. That's all. Yeah. And this is the one thing I feel like I can have an opinion on as a DPS. My opinions becoming valid basically stop the moment the fight actually begins, I think. It's genuinely how it feels. All right. So yeah, UMAD's been out for about 6 weeks now. Let's start with the first phase, because the first phase is usually not something that needs to be discussed all that much. But in this particular case, I found that it's probably one of my more liked first phases, even as a DPS. It's very personable. It's very lively, and it's very in your face when you're doing it right and wrong. And whether you're doing it right or wrong is pretty important to the principle of actually getting through the first phase, because this is where our puzzle actually happens for the fight. What was your first day experience like with this Rinon? Because for us, it was like, oh, well, obviously there's a puzzle here. Like almost immediately you realize it's stupid, like the way it's done.
Yeah. First of all, I really like the phase. It might be my favorite first phase for an ultimate ever, just because it's so active and there's so many things going. So there's so much variety in the mechanics. There's a lot of damage coming out. There's a lot of interesting tank healing to do. It's good basically, but our first phase experience was we got 2 pulls in. We saw those debuffs appear on players, and then we just saw them drop randomly with nothing happening, and we were like, okay, this is clearly something we're going to be missing here. We get another handful of pulls in. You see the gravitas puddles, which is the second main mechanic of the fight, and you see them pulse weirdly near the end of the mechanic resolving, and nothing happens. And we're like, okay, so there's definitely something going on here. And then you get to the third mechanic, which is the arrows, and it turns out you can just ignore half of the arrows and still get through the mechanic. So we kind of had to suspend disbelief for a while because we were well aware that we had just done the phase completely wrong and it was some kind of UU style progression point, but we decided to ignore it anyway for the sake of getting to P2. But it was very clear there was going to be a puzzle like within 5 minutes of prog.
Yeah, which is very unusual because while you compare it to UU took till the end of the first day for everyone to really feel like we did it wrong. A lot of people were, mind you, very, very different environment, both in terms of total skill level and experience with high-end fights. Like we're now, 7 in. So it's a very different, like the way we approach them is very different. But pretty much everyone was just like A-okay with, yeah, man, we beat Garuda. Yeah, man, we beat E3. Yeah, like, but we saw a few irregularities. Like we saw the nails grow, for example. That definitely didn't escape people's notice when it came to the eruptions. But for the most part, everyone's just like, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna do any of that. That's great. Look, we're on La Habrea. So why can't we beat this guy? Here, you're like, all right, when are they gonna cuck me? Just, I already know, dude. Like, I'm 2 minutes in, and I can already tell that I'm being cucked on something I haven't experienced yet. So when's it gonna happen at this point? And yeah, it's kind of weird, just going into a phase and just accepting how incorrectly you're doing it because you just need to see more. And we figured it was better to see further in to get to those phases and knowledge on those phases, even if incorrect. Like, because we wouldn't know what would change about them if we did the first phase correct before going back and fixing the first phase.
But see, the difference between UWU and this is that UWU doesn't give you a false positive, victory state. Like in UWU, you had no idea. Like you had an idea after the first day or so that okay, something's fucked up. No, this one actually just gives you a congratulations, you did it wrong.
Well, then it tells you congratulations, you're a fucking idiot is what he does.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what highlights what I think is actually pretty good about this phase. I was on and off because first phases, even when they're subjectively good, you do them so much they can lose all joy. Pretty much. This one, I think it depended on my mood on the given day. But I think I generally would say, even as a DPS, I felt more engaged with the fight here than I do later on, in all honesty, which is weird. But we'll get into that a little bit. What was your favorite part of the first phase? What mechanic did you like most? I think I know the answer to I think I know half of this answer. What was your most liked mechanic? What was your least liked mechanic?
Okay, so I really like. Okay, I'm just gonna say it outright. I actually think arrows is really funny to spectate, but not really fun to do. Which may be controversial because I know people love killing one another with arrows. I found that after you had reached a resolution for arrows, either without solving the puzzle or with solving the puzzle, it was the same. It was a very simple. You place the 2 arrows down, you stand in the exact same spot every single time, you watch 4 people walk around the exact same time. Ironically enough, my favorite mechanic was the first one. I thought the first mechanic was really cool. The thing that I like about it the most is that it elicits a lot of rapid player movement. First of all, everybody needs to quickly get into their spot. They'll either be knocked, not knacked. They'll either be knocked and need to spread or stack, or they'll be not knocked and they'll need to spread and stack. Then they quickly need to mobilize for towers, and then you need to get into light parties for the knockbacks or the debuffs afterwards. And at the same time, each instance of damage hits like a bloody truck, to the point where you need to stack mitigation on healers and do a little bit of healing in between to make sure that people are safe, because it just hits so goddamn hard. I was a little bit surprised at how active I found that mechanic with the truths and the lies compared to the start of UCOB or the first mechanic or the first phase of DSR or something like that. I found this way more active, way more fun to do. And I was surprised by that when all things were said and done, because I had really thought I would prefer arrows, but that wasn't the case.
Preferring arrows is wild. I was kind of hoping you were going to say that when I led into the question. I was like, oh, do we have the arrow enjoyer here?
Yeah.
Do we got him?
We didn't have too much issue with the arrow bug either. Like with the running through the arrows thing, we only ever had that happen once. It wasn't too much of a problem. So like even despite it not being a problem, arrows still not very interesting.
Yeah, we didn't have an issue with running through them. I think that happened a grand total of one time. It was the way the game communicates to you the arrow teleport. And I say that very specifically because while they quote fixed it, they didn't fix it in the means that like it technically wasn't working as intended. It just worked like shit. There's a distinct difference. Like for those who don't understand, what happens with the arrows is when you touch them, you were originally getting moved directly, like, you know, in a straight line in the direction it's facing from the moment your character hits it. But it's the moment the server detects your character hitting it, which means it could happen the moment you step inside, but then your server and client are desynced. So you run a little bit more through and then you teleport diagonally, but that diagonal teleport is still a straight line from when the server saw you enter the arrow. The problem is if you lined up two arrows and you were like 1 pixel off on the second arrow that was receiving, which is common. Not everyone can be expected to be completely perfect with the placement there. Then if you got caught on like the first pixel here, you just get teleported on the edge of the other one and you wouldn't go in, and then the whole mechanic would go up and bust. So people were doing weird arrows where like the second one is like a little bit more off center, so it catches just in case that happens. And a lot of people not big fans of that, and I don't blame them. So instead they just made it so it takes you to the center of the arrow and teleports you from there. So, which was the logical way to fix it. I didn't mind the arrows. I thought it was funny. I thought the whole mechanic was funny.
I like the bit where one person misses up the placement, so everybody tries to kill each other. That was good.
Yeah, exactly. You get to find out who has the fastest attack speed. Whose auto attack speed is best? That became a genuine discussion on like day 2 of who would kill who if we got charmed against each other. That happened in Prep 2, to be fair, but didn't have to happen nearly as much. For favorite, though, it's weird. It's one of those mechanics, phase 1, the entirety of it, where solving it legitimately is sometimes a little easier than solving it illegitimately. A great example is, so in the second, so you have to solve the mechanics in the most unintuitive way possible in order to do it. No one thinks, oh, we should stack all these AoEs on top of each other so we can blow ourselves up. That's not like the initial thought. But it's like when you have to work with the spacing of all 8 of those bubbles being in different places, the mechanic gradually gets a little bit more claustrophobic. And I kind of like that feeling where the arena's closing in on you and you have less space to actually work with to do everything else. So that mechanic shot to the bottom very quickly for me after we solved it correctly, because it's kind of, it gets even more uninteresting the more you're willing to, like, we did 2 stacks of 4. When you just make it 1 whole stack of 8 of them, it's like, all right, dude, what are we even doing?
It becomes kind of a nothing mechanic at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Yeah, just make sure.
Whereas Spring Prog, it's far more.
Yeah. Exactly. The first mechanic, though, is a rare instance where the mechanic gets better when you have to solve it legitimately. And that's why that one, I think, is better at the top. Actually having to keep the debuff at the beginning makes that first bit just that little bit more interesting with the extra scramble around to do the mechanics. And it doesn't detract from the entire first half of the mechanic where you don't have the debuff. So yeah, that first mechanic wins and that second mechanic definitely loses. Did I disconnect or did Sly disconnect?
I can still hear you.
Okay, thank God. All right. Whew. My internet's been a little weird as of late, so I was worried for a second there. I was real worried. Sly was really into the discussion briefly. So
Yeah, y'all froze for a minute for me. It was weird.
might have been me then, but it's back. In fact,
Okay.
I can check OBS. It was not me. It was Discord. That's it. Blame the third party. It's Discord.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we had that happen during prog. All of the Discord
Oh,
calls
no.
died for like 2 hours when we were on P5 prog. It was a nightmare.
We weren't on P5, but you know what we did? We booted up a Steam voice channel.
Oh my goodness, we had a matrix.
Y'all got hella creative. Y'all booted up a Steam voice channel.
It worked
We tried
great.
TeamSpeak for a while as well.
You did Teams.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it gets really bad when you think about going back to TeamSpeak, the early days of 14, like when we were just raiding and we had nothing but TeamSpeak, and that's all we had. I mean, it's not. It's still
We lost
useful.
one P5 pull to it, and the first response was, "Okay, who can set up a TeamSpeak server in the next 10 minutes?"
Bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, we were just like,
TeamSpeak.
I was like, does anyone have a Slack?
Bro, no.
What?
I think everyone dropped the call when I asked that. They were like, we're not talking.
Google Meetup.
Yeah,
What else
any
do we
Google
have?
Meet enjoyers? I was like, nobody enjoys Google Meet. Why are you?
No,
speaking?
nobody.
You know, close your. I don't think I've ever felt the energy of shut your fucking mouth more than suggestions
Zoom.
like that. Leaving my mouth. Yeah, that first phase, it starts off on a pretty good note. And a highlight is definitely Kefka. This is the first ultimate. This is the first ultimate that started with an unvoiced encounter that became a voiced encounter. Like the original Kefka has no voice acting. I didn't want to say it's the first one they added voice lines to because Fru added tons of voice lines. Like almost all the voice lines there are new. And that first phase, it goes a long way to the enjoyment of that first phase, where he's kind of like giving you voice cues when you do things the way you're supposed to, but he's like, why would you solve it that way? It's like, what, okay, whatever. But phase one voice lines are always a bit of a toss up because you'll hear them a billion times.
Yeah.
How are we on the talkativeness of our favorite clown, Ran?
Oh, I'm into it. I'm actually into it. Literally every pull, we'd have somebody going, "This is my first time, so please take it easy." Like literally every pull, somebody would just say that because they can't help themselves because it's too ingrained in their heads. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I think it adds a bit of levity to the start of the fight and in what can be an otherwise very stressful scenario. I'm sure that somebody's fucking sick of it. 5, 6, 7 days in, but that's their problem.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's sick of it one day in.
And you had
did actually. Now that I think about it, somebody said, "And voices are off."
I mean, you kind of had to know that this iteration of Kefka would be very, very chatty.
Yeah, but he could just not. I mean,
no. I mean, it's your ultimate encounter.
This is supposed to be our ultimate encounter.
Oh my god,
Right.
That was another one somebody had to say every pull as well. Every pull. You know what? Actually, I take it back. I'm losing my mind. Maybe it wasn't a good thing.
Did you kind of think that it would be this fourth wall kind of breaking thing, or like did you even consider that being a possibility for Kefka?
Yeah, so I actually kind of expected it to go further than it did. I kind of expected them to do the fourth wall break and pull in other bosses from Omega or maybe elsewhere. The crackpot theory I had was that he was going to pull in bosses from the previous ultimates and use them to do his trio. So like he might pull in like Pandora and Ultima weapon to do like a
Oh
trio
wow.
mechanic or something. So I was expecting them to go like way more crazy with it than they did in the end.
Always the problem when we're given time to speculate. Everyone always
You just get too imaginative. And you start. Yeah.
It's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse every time.
Because y'all picture yourselves devs. Like you as Raiders, picture yourselves devs. Like what do devs do? What would I do if I were designing an ultimate?
They don't want what I would do. No one would play the game if they did what I would do. That's just a fact. I don't want to make anyone suffer that reality. But also, call me. So, listen, I'll make Puppet Master. That could be my one claim to fame. I'll take care of that. Just let me do it. Normal job. I'll take care of that. Trust me.
Okay, let's go.
So then we get on. So going from phase 1 into phase 2, also tons of talkative lines. But it's, as a Raider, you're definitely a little confused going into phase 2 because you're like, so God Kefka's already here. What happens after God Kefka?
And Haps, we were having this conversation so many times before the fight. Like, there's not a lot of source material for Kefka. What could they pull?
Well, first they got to start with Kefka here. Yeah, so that is the thing though. It's like, well, if they're already on God Kefka, then whatever other bosses he's pulling in has to be in the next phase. I'll worry about this now, but I'm well aware that has to be what's going to happen because ain't no way they're going to like give us a brand new form. What is this going to be, a 3-phase fight or something? Just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't think we had expected God Kefka phase 2 at all, honestly. We were obviously you're going to get Kefka phase 1. We had expected something like Big Kefka that appears later on, like some kind of Kefka change in between Kefka and God Kefka. And that's what we had expected to happen second, so we were a little bit stunned that God Kefka came immediately afterwards.
Yeah, it's not like there's no pretense for that. I mean, Final Omega is only the 3rd phase of Omega.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I mean, that you still kind of, you feel like you've worked through a lot when you get through Final Omega, right? Like you went through phase 1, you're doing Looper every pull, you hate yourself, and then you got to do Party Synergy and you hate yourself again. You got MNF, and like you feel like you've worked through 3 raid fights by the time you get through that phase, even if it is only 8 minutes into the fight. I think 8:50 by the time you finish Final Omega when he gets the blue screen. So, but this is like you're like 6 minutes 50 seconds in or something by the time you get through God Kefka. So it's crazy to be like, this is like a fourth of the fight is done, and the only 2 Kefkas I know are gone already. So that was a big surprise to see God Kefka second. Then we get to what I personally think is the hardest mechanic in the fight. Is Forsaken.
I think it might be the hardest mechanic in the game. I'm going to be honest.
Wow, that's saying something. And we've had some doozies as of recently, honestly. So
I think the only reason that people might argue otherwise is because it's early enough that you get reps to practice it. That's a fucking
you
hard
get reps
mechanic.
early enough to practice Looper too, but that didn't save that. Yeah. Forsaken here is kind of like, it's very Hello Worldy in a sense, but with a little bit more. It's Hello World if you actually had to react to something after it started. Kind of.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. It's also like Hello World if it had more of a memory mechanic, I would say too.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's effectively, the whole phase is one mechanic, it's one dance, and everybody just kind of has a place to be every time the mechanic finishes a cast bar. Like that's just kind of all it boils down to. But the precision with which you need to do it is exacting. And while I don't want to speak on a healer's behalf, I can sure watch my health bars enough to be scared shitless the entire phase. So
it's pretty hard, yeah. It's pretty hard iteration.
Yeah, it's a lot of instances of damage with not a lot. Like Hello World is a lot of instances of damage, but it's like a big instance and a small instance, and then a big instance and a small instance, and like even though they're consistent, this is just big. It's scary.
Yeah, the thing about Forsaken is it takes enough of your mental stack in order to remember where you are supposed to go next, especially while you're learning, that it's really difficult to remember to perfectly time your mitigation. So I think I can imagine this happens in PF. It definitely happened to us early in prog. The healers are probably overhealing like hell to compensate for it, because especially when they're learning, they are almost certainly not like carefully timing things to go off like a second or two before an instance of damage so you can try and cover the next one more easily and things like that. You're almost certainly just, okay, we top, we shield, we throw whatever is glowy and ready to go out up, and we hope it works out. And it probably will work out in those cases, but it's definitely a stressful situation until you get used to it. It's like really, really heavy mental burden on the healers, I think, like progging that mechanic.
That's this fight in a nutshell, to be fair.
Yeah.
I can think of one part of this fight where there's not that much mental load on a healer, and it's not fair to even compare that spot because we haven't gotten there yet, and I think it's kind of an oversight, the thing we'll talk about later.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll make sense. I've talked about it a little bit in the other weeks, but
Okay.
Forsaken is just like, it's really well done. There's it's one of those mechanics that has enough different ways to solve it that there's a bit of a discrepancy in the way people learn it, which I think is better for an overall upfront experience. Some people like really rigid, it has to be solved this way mechanics. I don't. I like when there can actually be some discussion. Like how you want to solve it is Hello World, literally you did one pull and it was solved. Because you saw all the debuffs and you're like, well, this has to resolve this way. Like, yeah, maybe you're like, oh, well, it could happen a little different. And yeah, it's which one's defamation? Big fucking whoop, right? All that got us was a dog with a different color emote in the chat, pretty much. That's pretty much the most impact that Hello World had on us. But Forsaken, on the other hand, was like, there were so many possibilities and so many pros and cons to each way. And the whole like abba
You okay there? You good? You good?
I'm going to be so honest. I had no idea that people were referring to it as like abba and abba until after prog, and I was like, what are these guys saying? Like, what is this crap?
So the way it works, Sly, is that effectively there's two arrangements. So everybody has 4 debuffs they have to get through, and the arrangement that your debuff changes is 50% consistent in a sense that like when you go through the debuffs, the first time it changes, it will always change to a certain category. So there's 2 separate categories of debuffs that it's alternating between. But you label the first group that's trying to solve it A, and the second group that's trying to solve it B. So
B,
abba means, first 4 people in towers are A, second 4 people in towers are B. So it's like the A group, the B group, the B group, the A group, the A group, the B group, the B group, the A group. Or people would do like, A, B, 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 A, or A, B, 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 B. So those are what it all is. Abba, and ab.
But you would never have ba.
No, because why would the second people be going first? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted a reason for the ba to exist.
I was thinking it. I thought you might too. So we're on the same page, in all honesty.
Yeah.
But there was so much discussion and so many different ways to weigh the pros and cons. There was like the AAA BBBB strat running into like needing to LB3 in the later portion of the phase because the way it resolved, and like then abba having a perfectly solvable way of doing it, but maybe thinking like, oh, would it be less mental stack to not have to swap? Just if A went 3 times in a row and then B went 4 times in a row, is that less mental stack? There's a lot of discussion between people who, that's one of those mechanics where everyone learning differently and perceiving the mechanic differently and being on the same page is much more important. Because if you have a bunch of people that think the different ways are better or worse and can't adjust to the other ones, it gets really rough, really fast.
I think that's it. It's kind of a perfect FF14 mechanic in that way, because I think that the best mechanics in the games are the one are the kind of mechanics where there are a million different ways to solve it, and the best way to solve it is the one that is easiest for your 8 players to deal with, rather than there is a right way and a wrong way. Even as far as, let's say that you decide to deal with the certain sets in a certain way, you can even change the way that players are standing inside the towers, like the tower configuration setup and the people who deal with the baits for the Kefka clones. Even those that you can change around. You have so much freedom in that mechanic. And I think it's almost a double-edged sword in a way, because the freedom makes it really interesting to solve, and it also makes it so that if people aren't consistent, it becomes an absolute mess, because you get one guy who decides to not follow the rule and stand on a different side of the tower, and then you have a very quick route back to Kefka going, this is my first time.
I feel like those kind of mechanics are weird. The ones where like there are 50 different, like from a pug standpoint, I feel like they're weird because there are 50 different ways to solve them. But like we're talking about people who are progging, not pugs. When you're talking about pugs, you're talking about people who can't agree on what they're gonna fucking have for breakfast or what they're gonna wear. Like, so you're talking about people who can't agree on how exactly what is the quote unquote collective right way to do it. And you get a lot of options that are the easiest, but pugs won't take that option most time. They'll take the more complicated option.
It depends.
Can't imagine this was fun in PF the first few days. I bet this was a nightmare.
Yeah, I think that's more of an issue early, because eventually pugs just go, tell me what everyone's doing and I'll do it. And then there's no discussion to be had.
Right.
Especially in an ultimate, like I think there was still just a little, there was a decent amount of dissension there. I definitely saw strats moving around a lot, and I had stories coming in on stream about what people's PF experience was like there. And it was the mess that you described, but it was a lot of people just not knowing what was going to be easiest for 8 random people to solve. So much so to the point where everyone's like, I'll just wait for auto markers.
Oh no. Oh no. They're not using AM for it now, are they?
No. It's not very useful, because like at this point, like you either remember what you had over your head or you don't. Like, it's not useful really at all. And that's the harder thing now, because there's markers. Honestly, baiting the cones and not letting them go in the wrong direction ended up being the hardest thing, as opposed to the memory game, in my opinion. Like the precision with which you have to stand to do the Kefka baits and the cone. I don't know if it's changed at all, but that was the thing that we definitely had the hardest time getting exactly right. Having a cone go stray was worse than almost anything else.
Yeah, for us, we found lines on the floor for it, because otherwise it was just, we felt like we were gambling too much, you know.
That's another thing about this fight. There are lines on the floors, but there's 2 sets of lines you have to learn, because there's the north-south line. 2 sets of
lines based on the pattern, and whether you're cardinal or inter.
Yeah. So that it's not, depending on how you can process it, that's not that much of a mental load help. So yeah, it's he's trolling nonstop. Everything he does is a fucking troll, including that. But it's still like really well done. Like I as a DPS, even though I don't have to do what the healers do, and I don't find this type of mechanic, like personally speaking, this is like I can kind of mentally stack it very easily. I still recognize it as, excuse me, one of the more engaging mechanics that the fight actually has. And for me, it's definitely the peak of the fight. But I gotta say, this is another one of those cases where, yes, God Kefka is known very well for Forsaken, but it's weird that it's just towers and the debuffs, and that's the whole phase. It's one of those where it's like, where are my heads? Where's my ultimate?
Where are the heads?
You had an expectation for more, I'm guessing.
Well, it's basically Forsaken 2 on crack from the, and even then, it's still like the meteors aren't there, and there's parts of it that still aren't even present. But it's like, that's all it is. It's Forsaken 2 specifically. Forsaken 1 and 3, like the fact that there's no Forsaken with God Kefka mechanics is a huge surprise. I'm sorry, with phase 1 Kefka mechanics with the tower is, to me, a big surprise. They just went straight up for how can we make which Forsaken is the hardest and how can we make it harder? And
I
That's a
would
little
have
shady.
argued that the emissions in terms of God Kefka mechanics were kind of egregious, especially heads. Uh, I had kind of, to me, the heads are one of the more interesting mechanics from God Kefka that they could have easily placed into an ultimate and made something really cool with it. Like you can imagine a trio where, let's say you've got the big Kefka who appears later, or even God Kefka doing his mechanics and he's slamming left and right, or he's doing elements, and you're having to kite heads that will explode certain mechanics when you touch them whilst you're doing all of this and find a way to kite them into the right spots at the right times to detonate them safely. That's a really cool mechanic, and I actually thought that was a shoe-in for a trio we'd get, and they just never appeared anywhere. I was really surprised that we didn't see the heads at all.
Yeah, it's right up there with height not being in T in
Yeah,
terms of surprises.
Hmm.
And I was shocked that height was not in T. I was like, you can't do T without height. And they were like, fucking watch us. And that's it. Now, not get me wrong. The problem is, I imagine this fight with that, and it's top. You start taking some of the things they omitted, and the fight starts really looking like top. So maybe kind of for the better, but still weird. Still, I maybe something else could have been omitted, and I definitely think a lot could have been omitted when we start talking about the phases afterwards. Especially because I don't know. It's definitely they definitely use Final Omega as like the blueprint for this, because then it just does like one basic mechanic, although monitors is way more annoying than the trines are by like a mile, but still it just uses one last like kind of fuck you mechanic, and then you just have to beat the enrage, and then that's it.
I think one thing I do want to appreciate about the first two phases of Kefka, though, both of them, because they both do it really well, they are really interesting in terms of tank buster design, specifically because they don't give vulnerabilities. So you have in the phase one, you have a tank buster where it swaps aggro in between, and you can manipulate that by shirking in between the hits as well, or during the cast bar, so that one tank gets both, or you can share it between the two tanks, or you can invuln it. And even in phase two, if you get enough buddy mitigation, one tank can solo the double stack as well. So you get a lot of choice as to how you're going to deal with the busters. You can do basically whatever the hell you want, and it will work out if you do it well. And I think that's really interesting because they happen just close enough that you can't just kitchen sink and invuln everything. And I think that's good design personally that tanks don't normally have to deal with.
Yeah, tanks are definitely operating as more than I think a big problem ultimates tend to face. And unfortunately, it's in my opinion, it's the fights that are more fun as DPS this way, but I don't think they should be designed this way, is when everybody kind of just does the same thing and a tank has to eat a tank buster once in a while. You know, that's a lot of ultimates fall into that, where it's effectively there's no tank specific mechanic. Top especially does this a lot. And they're just like the tank. That's why the blue DPS, joke or green DPS joke is when there's literally like nothing else to do. You just DPS and solve the mechanic the same as everyone else. I think that it's good that the tanks actually got some stuff to do. As much as I think it does end up later on, meaning I'm bored and nobody else is. Nobody who's a different color than red is.
It's a shame because part of me is like, oh, I wish they would just do busters during mechanics instead of like diverting time specifically to it. But at the same time, then you're potentially putting too much mental load on the tank, It's
also, as soon as you do that, it actually starts to work the other way, where because the tanks have to deal with a buster, it forces a resolution in a certain way that then makes it less fun to solve.
That's a good point.
So there's always a given pull. Nothing's ever as strict as, oh, give me more tank stuff, because there is always a given pull with everything else you're being asked to do and things you're not being asked to do at the same time. So it's a tough thing to balance. It's one of the things I'll be watching in Evolved. That's for certain. In Evercold, this is a big watch list, like design choice with everything that they're doing, especially with the main tank off tank thing, which, hilarious. But phase two is my favorite phase of the ones I've done so far, which is most of them, to be fair.
I think phase two is my favorite phase as well. And that's only because of Forsaken, because the mechanic at the end is like, honestly, kind of a nothing mechanic. It's literally just Forsaken is so cool and it feels so good to do right that it just makes it the best phase in the fight.
Yeah, especially it's a, and this is a credit I'll give to the whole fight. There are no downtime trios at all in this fight. This is a full uptime encounter.
Yeah.
The entire time. It means there's nothing nearly as crazy challenging as some of the trios we've seen in others in terms of like what would traditionally be perceived as like a trio mechanic. But it also means that you got to put in some work in order to like play optimally. You are never just like, well, I will go stand here and type / Manderville dance until I move and then do it again and blah, blah, blah.
While the healers do everything as well.
That's a thing.
Yeah, 2-minute window during Forsaken also is really nice, which then brings up the discussion of fast buffs at the beginning and if they're good for your team or your team composition, with how they line up in Forsaken versus using them at the end of Forsaken versus having cleave at the start of phase 3. It forces you to have more interesting discussions about how buffs align, which is funny because we won't be doing that anymore soon. So
right.
And I'm okay with that. But then it'll be about how you play your own buffs and your own class skills. So in a way, you'll just have to think about it for yourself and just a little less coordination.
So you're saying like the majority of, I guess, phase 2 or the fight itself is uptime?
The whole fight.
Oh,
there's nothing.
Yeah, like there's basically no downtime, yeah.
So there's like, because we had this conversation at FanFest about like, well, you know how fights are designed with the two minute meta in mind. Like there's you slap the boss for a minute, slap it silly, and then there's this downtime where you don't really get to do anything, where you might be challenged about doing stuff during a 2-minute window or things like that. You don't think? Oh, good.
It's not like that. It's like definitely I'm almost 100% confident that this fight had its timings designed with evolved jobs in mind, just because you can play.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, actually.
Your 2 minutes, honestly, I don't mean to say they're irrelevant, but they're kind of irrelevant because you can basically use them wherever the hell you want. For example, there's a lot of groups that would send their 2 minutes at the end of phase 2 to make sure that the check was lenient. But you don't have to do that. You can save them for the start of phase 3 if you want. And then you get a second buff window, like 2/3 of the way through phase 3, very comfortable. Or you can send them at the end of phase 2, and then they come up at a different point in phase 3, and then again, later right at the end. And you're never really actively losing the ability to kill the boss from shifting your 2 minutes to different phases. It doesn't affect anything. You're still totally fine. It just gives you options and you can choose your preference. And I feel like the fact that the checks are, first of all, lenient enough that you can do that without strictly abiding to pressing your 2 minutes on cooldown means that it allows them to give more interesting design where players can lose uptime to getting like a bad pattern or something, which I think is good because there is a lot of that in this fight. But also I think that it means that when evolved jobs come out and jobs aren't beholden to one another, it gives them a bit more freedom to allow those jobs to play into their own strengths and weaknesses based on the fight without needing to make sure everything is perfectly balanced in every single way to still be fun, right?
Yeah. And I was also going to bring that up too, Sly, by the way. That was going to be my next thing too, is the evolved job question.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that UMAD is a lot more flexible than compared to something like Fru, where like pretty much everything is kind of like hard coded, I guess. Because Fru did kind of feel hard coded.
I mean, that's kind of the whole game. It's not even just Fru. Yeah. It's kind of just the whole game other than this fight, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And here's the thing. It's another one of those, part of me likes it, a part of me ends up not liking it. I have said many times as a DPS, this fight is payphone for us. When there's no check and it's so lenient that you can do these things, it takes the one thing you maybe could have asked me to be strict about and even not be that strict about that either. In terms of the design, I think it is good. And I think it'll make more sense with Evolve because I'll be making my own decisions in any given fight on how to use my skills. That's the big thing with Evolved is that we're not going to be following a necessarily a strict rotation. Your optimization will come out of how you use your skills to navigate a specific fight. In theory, if they do it correctly, that's going to be the strength of it. And this feels like if I was on Evolved, I as a DPS probably would have just had a lot more fun as a whole, because I would have been making those decisions independently. And the only decision we can make now is the 2-minute one. And it's not a very interesting one. It's just better it's just better design for what the 2-minute, buff window actually looks like now. But yeah, there's not really a DPS check in this fight much at all.
Yeah, there isn't one anywhere, which I was honestly a bit surprised about, because I feel like my old opinion is that every good ultimate needs at least one DPS check somewhere to act as kind of like a you must be this tall to get through barrier, but this fight just doesn't really have one.
Yeah, it's a little strange. But I don't think it holds the fight back overall. Just makes, again, my role, it just takes another point away from it. And who gives a shit about us?
No, save them. Save the DPS.
No. The tanks and the healers have needed saving for a long
put that
time.
on a shirt. Put that on a shirt, please. Save the DPS.
My God, 8.0 DPS strike. Oh no, it's coming.
Now, phase 2 is an interesting one. I did it correctly before I did it incorrectly. But this phase, if you do the first phase incorrectly, is probably one of the funnier go back and do it again checks that we've had. In Ultimate Weapon, it's La Brea murders your face. In T, it's you. I think T is actually the funniest one overall, because when you get the fate calibration and nothing happens for like 40 seconds and then you just fucking die everything at once, is really fucking funny. Yeah, that's great. But this one's like, you literally get a victory screen and you get a chest and you have to leave the instance. But when you open the chest, he just goes, you didn't win. I'm kidding. Try to go out and do something different. I don't know what it could be. That's it. It's so funny because I remember trying to jump off and then they respawn because the instance is over. And they're like, I actually have to fucking leave. Are you kidding me?
You should have to leave, yeah. I will say I really loved that. We got the fake ending before we got phase 3, because I think it was before anybody had gotten to phase 3. And even that felt like such a victory, just to know that we'd done it right once, I think they managed to kind of convey the feeling that they wanted, where you feel like a little bit that you've been made a fool of, but it doesn't matter because you still feel like you've won anyway. Yeah. It kind of came across to be a very satisfying prog cycle. Wasn't super fun to leave the instance after and re-queue and go back to phase 1, but that's kind of after the experience, so it's okay.
Yeah, definitely is a gimmick. This is where, for me, the fourth wall breaking stops being fun. After this is the last part where that gimmick feels like it's worked. And from this point on, my opinion as a DPS takes a pretty big nosedive about the fight. I'm not going to lie. Not necessarily from a mechanical standpoint, but just from a design standpoint. When you do it correctly, Kefka just pulls a Dissidia on you and just literally does his exact same gimmick from Dissidia, where he talks to you and, grabs the camera and all that and says, I'm talking to you. Y-O-U.
Y-O-U.
Oh my.
Yeah, that every pull, that's worse than doing phase 1 every pull. I'm not going to lie. It's funny, but it wore on me more than phase 1 ever did.
Just looking at it from an outside in looking standpoint and watching people prog and just seeing YOU in chat every single time. I'm like, I'm like,
chat's the only reason I could tolerate that mechanic. That thing every time. It was chat every time.
It was at least take a drink of water or eat some food, because you'd get like a minute of nothing every pull. That was all right, at least.
I don't mind downtime. I actually like cutscenes for the reset on your cooldowns. I don't mind that. This particular one I got tired of just quicker. I would rather my boss not talk to me the entire time. Is what it comes down to. And then
it was just so early in the fight. It was just, I think it was a bit problematic because you felt like you had to watch it more times. You felt you were wasting more time to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only solace I take is that they don't make the fights longer or shorter based on whether or not they have a cutscene. So I'm like, all right, plus 40 seconds on our total pull time. We're closer to the end.
You watch the cutscene and you're like, Prog, let's go.
Yeah. My pull is now over a minute longer after finishing that phase. That's awesome. But now is where we get to the part that people were divided on. There were two different camps coming into this fight. There was the camp of they will use the Warring Triad and the camp they will use other Omega bosses. And we find out which one was the truth. And it is indeed other Omega bosses. Yeah. It was Chaos and X-Death rear their ugly heads. And you're like, oh boy, here we go. Dude, if Kefka shared a strategy board with you, that would have been the funniest fucking thing they could have done. Now
oh my God, that would have been so fucking cool.
That's it. Fight sucks. They didn't do that.
And it should have just been a picture of Chaos and X-Death.
He just puts up a strategy board.
That would have been some
What if he actually had to follow the strategy board too?
No, that wouldn't be good because then they'd just be telling you to do the fight. It should have just been a strategy board. You have to open it, and it's Kefka doing this with all the AoE shapes, but you have to push his nose.
No. What if he just did the ultimate meme strategy board? You know those meme strategy boards when we got like the antelope from
Bro, do you know how many memes? Yeah. Do you understand how little this narrows it down? Meme strategy board. That's all of them.
I don't think I've seen a real strategy board.
I have used it legitimately several times. I will have you know I have used that strategy board legitimately many times. Even in this, we had somebody make a black hole strategy board that we could keep on the side that had all of the like markings with the order like lined up and everything for our early strats for that. It was great.
I remember our strategy board for Tyrant was DPS, please don't kill each other.
Yep. My favorite is the bros making out.
Yeah.
People get creative with those real quick, man. Let me tell you. Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 Dawn Trail feature. Don't care how it's used. Great feature. 10 out of 10. Would 10 again.
Yeah, still more useful than
I was gonna say
than the replay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it. I knew you would say it too, though, so I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, the whole Chaos Exit thing at first seemed kind of cool. I kind of liked where they were going with it. But the more I've done that phase and the phase that follows, the more I realize how much less this ends up feeling like Kefka Ultimate and Chaos and
more
fucking
Omega
X-Death Ultimate. No, it just feels like Chaos and X-Death Ultimate. Because Kefka's just sitting there fucking laughing at you the whole time, and the other two bosses are doing everything. And I did not like that. From a thematic standpoint, this is where the fourth wall breaking stopped being fun for me. Because I felt like it was terribly uncreative what they ended up using the fourth wall break for as a whole. It's just to have Chaos and X-Death there, and Kefka does like one or two other, like he becomes big and that's cool and all, and he lays on the arena. But why are half the mechanics just me sidestepping a half room and that's like it for Kefka?
It also feels strange that the entire puzzle that he presents in phase one of you need to solve these mechanics quote unquote wrong or in strange ways or in the least obvious way possible and make them unintuitive. That also just disappears after phase one. And I was honestly expecting that you get to phase three and something like that will continue. The mechanics will happen and there is unintuitive elements that you need to deal with in a different way, and you will continue to like build up this puzzle, but it's just done. Like now it's just normal fight, don't think about anything else but get through the mechanics forward. And I was a bit surprised by that and disappointed by it, I think.
I mean, but to be fair, going back to Uru, did you want like a whole fight of
Uru does do
this wrong?
It actually does, though. Ooh, does. The Garuda becomes.
I mean, not like I was thinking maybe of like Woken, but like past Woken and
no,
everything.
Garuda's debuffs become a reprog, like a minor reprog, like several times throughout the final phase. Like the fact that the way you decide to solve Garuda has repercussions all the way up to the final, nearly the final phase, is one of my favorite things about ooh. Like I give it mad props for actually making that a considerate factor. It's kind of like it's a little bit more engaging than I think the placement of fucking Neurolinks in UCOB, which still is also one of those kind of pays dividends the whole fight things. But no, he just ditches what feels like his main gimmick to be a traditional fight with the other ads after you get to phase 3.
To
me, at least, and I guess to Rinon.
I felt the same for sure.
But my disappointment becomes tenfold.
Okay.
During the first mechanic of Chaos and X-Death. Chaos and X-Death starts with an elements mechanic where you have to do what is his DPS check / ad phase in the original, where there's water debuffs, fire debuffs, wind debuffs, and you have to solve them all in a way that keeps everyone alive, because if you start cascading deaths, then the debuffs start resolving incorrectly and it cascades and becomes like just an absolute shit show, and it's hilarious. When you have to do that mechanic correctly, it's actually phenomenally done. It's incredibly engaging in terms of positioning, the tank movement, the tank busters, the healing. It's actually great for, in my opinion, every role. It would have been if we had to do it that way. Because unfortunately, you basically just MIT and LB3 the whole phase, and then you just do limit cut at the end, and it's like the easiest limit cut imaginable, as long as people can pay attention moments before. And you end up just getting kind of 90 seconds of this fight is really fucking boring if you're not a healer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame what happened to that mechanic, because I agree. Like when we progged, we didn't use tank LB because we didn't know it existed until we were later in the fight. And by that point, we had invested too much time to consider changing anything. So we cleared without using the tank LB. And at that time, I had thought this mechanic is really good. It's a classic style trio. The bosses are uptime. You get a lot of cleave potential. You need to move the bosses around. You need to consider their facing. You need to consider where you can move them to get cleave windows. The elements do a lot of damage. There is a little bit of adjustment in positioning. This is just a really good classic trio. And then for reclears and reprog for a friend, I did the tank LP strat, and I realized that it is literally a normal mode raid mechanic with it. And I was like, oh, that's a real shame. I don't begrudge anyone using it, obviously. No. I mean, you're going to use every advantage you can get, right? Obviously, and you should. But it's a bit of a shame because it turns an interesting mechanic into what is essentially an AFK phase where you just don't really want to be present until Black Hole in P3.
Which also makes wipes in that phase feel way worse. Like if somebody faces wrong for the wind, you just sat there for like 60 seconds and then somebody like gets pushed off and
you're like, okay, I'm not saying anything. I'm muting, I roll. Like it's literally just one of those, you know? Which is such a shame.
Yeah. You don't want it to be like that, but and nobody's perfect. Somebody's going to mess it up and somebody else is going to be like, clearly this isn't your first time. Yeah. That was my enjoyment of the fight basically took a nosedive when we swapped over to tank LB3 for that. And I wasn't going to say no, because it is like the fastest way to make consistent prog on that phase. And the fastest way to ensure that every pull is a black hole pull, or close to every pull is a black hole pull. But even still, I mean, the tank busters in this phase, like even with that in mind, dude, the tank busters in this phase go fucking crazy.
Oh yeah. They're constant. You can't even, because they apply the debuff, you're basically forced to, at some point, you're going to have to take a tank buster without enough mitigation, so you're going to get chunked. So there's almost always at least one buster in that phase where the tanks are going to have to take it, and they really need healer support to not make it scary, which I like. I think that's nice design. But I think it kind of goes back to what you said about how tanks and healers have a lot to do in that phase, and especially with tank LB, DPS are just doing absolutely nothing for literally 2/3 of the phase. They're just doing nothing. They just stood there.
Yeah.
which
It's
is not
actually
engaging.
payphone. Actually, full blown payphone. It's wild. Like think like so. After you finish that element mechanic, he literally does a tank buster, reapplies firewall, and then does another buster. And it's just like, can you fucking chill for 1 second? Like, he's like, I'm not doing anything else right now. I'm making sure you guys are doing something.
And then when he starts Black Hole, it starts off with a heal check with no other mechanics for the first 10 to 15 seconds.
That being said, it's funny because I've heard plenty of horror stories of somebody getting there and a DPS popping second wind and fucking murdering everybody.
Oh, no.
Because it's not just a heal check. It's one of my favorite heal checks. It's a staggered healer check.
Yeah, it's a mechanic about control more than anything. We are, because I was playing White Mage because I don't know, I felt like it before the job gets reworked. So we got to kind of bypass having to do it properly because I would just Benny one guy and then we would just heal the raid, right? But if you don't have that, then it's very much a case of you really need to mix and match AoE heals to make sure that firstly the tank who is taking autos is going to survive, because he's going to be taking autos from 1 HP. So you need to make sure he has stuff. You need to get the raid high enough HP that they can take the raid wide from the first accretion going off. And then you need to also mix and match single target heals to make sure that the two guys who are going to be cleansed don't get cleansed at the same time. And I think that's really interesting. Like there's a lot of elements that you're considering, and you're also trying to be wary of not using too many regens so that you don't accidentally top somebody that you don't want to. I think it's really interesting 10 to 15 seconds of gameplay for healers. And I really hope that they do more of that, because it turns what is a nothing mechanic into a moment for healers where they really get to think about their tools. And I think that honestly, regen healers especially don't have to think about their tools enough. It's just fill health bar, and that's all they do a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, look no further than Astrologian on Phoenix back in Pandemonium. I pressed one button and the whole mechanic has been resolved. There's nothing else that needs to be considered there, where every other healer is like, that's fucking great for you, man. That's so fucking great for you. That's so fucking great for you. Holy shit.
I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you.
No,
I'm great. God damn it.
I even said it, and then you said it again, and I was like, oh, he got out of it because I don't think he heard me. And then you just leaned into it a second time, Sly. Can't do that. You know better. Yeah.
The entire show without one. God damn it.
And that's what you're going to notice for the rest of our fight discussion is it's me looking over at the healers going like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Damn, glad you had fun.
Great. Yeah. Good for you.
And I will say this. I think Black Hole, while I don't think it makes up for the way that the first half goes, at least Black Hole is also genuinely a pretty well-constructed mechanic through and through. It does enough like shaking things up to give you a little bit of like it gives you a few really high stress moments and a few break moments back and forth. And it's another one of those, you need to know every possible configuration that you could be resolving the mechanic in. And that can add a little bit of fun to it. I don't think it's that engaging from a character movement perspective. It is just a lot of dodging half room AoEs or stepping out of the center of the room as a DPS. And it's really down to the healers needing to handle everything. And the tank buster. And the tank movement of the bosses. Basically, everyone's doing something except me.
Yeah, it's a support. It does feel like another support mechanic, honestly. Like, progging that mechanic until I got comfortable was unironically the most stressed I've ever felt playing healer. Just because there are the black holes themselves, the tethers that you're taking, those aren't the hard part, right? The hard part is timelining everything in between it properly, paying attention to who is dropping to 1 HP on each black hole cycle, and making sure that you're either giving the entire raid enough health to deal with the raid wide and also top the guy for the next black hole, or you're using single target tools to get him up and healthy so that he can take the next one. And then you're also thinking about, okay, so there's a a stack coming or a roll's coming, and I'm going to need extra mitigation on that. And also the tanks are going to take a tank buster, and this is the one where they've got literally nothing but a dream, so I need to give them extra mit, but I need to time it so that it's after the last auto attack. And then there's a white hole where right before the white hole, one guy is going to go to 1 HP, so you need to make sure to give him extra. And there's also parts, like little nuances to it, like at one point, one of the tanks is going to drop to 1 HP, and he will be taking an auto attack a handful of seconds later. And that auto attack, if you do raid heals, is going to kill him. So you need to make sure that you save extra single target stuff specifically to him to make sure that he's okay. And you've got like this entire really engaging metagame going on specifically for healing in amongst everything else. And it makes it first of all very hard to get comfortable with when you're progging, but secondly it makes it really, really satisfying to do well. And this is the moment where I have to say I think it is a crying shame that only healers get to have it be that satisfying, because that might be one of the most fun mechanics I've ever done in FF14.
I wish that like I had to kill black holes or something during that. Like,
yeah, that would be cool.
And then have to optimize cleave with my boss with the black hole that I'm killing and stuff. Like that would have just that. I mean, that's asking a lot given everything that's going on there. Cause I'm sure they would then be like, oh, well, when a black hole dies, it fucking explodes. And the healers are like, great. But you know, still it's just effectively everything he just said. You know what I do in that phase, Sly?
What?
I hit my boss. I wait till it's my turn to take a tether, and then I dodge half from AoEs. And there's nothing else for me to do. That whole fucking phase.
Yeah. I hate that. It's fucking real. That's so true. Oh no.
That's it. There's nothing else. Like, oh, and I press my mitt when the healers ask me to. And I don't stand under X death when there's tank busters. Cool. Great. Which there are 2 tank busters throughout that phase. I just can't believe how many fucking tank busters there are in that phase. It's crazy. He's like, you're done with the first mechanic. How about 4 tank busters? That's just crazy. And I love it.
I mean, I'm okay with like, you know, dummy time a little bit in fights, like where you.
The problem is you get 90 seconds of dummy time before this, and this isn't really dummy time because you still need to do black hole. Like,
I mean, like you do stuff, but at the same time, it's just you hitting, essentially doing mechanics and hitting a dummy. That's why I like to call it dummy time. Yeah,
that's right. And Kefka's meanwhile just talking shit the whole fucking time. The entire time. I'm like, bro, I'm not even fighting you right now. I'm fighting these fucking Final Fantasy 1 and 5 final bosses. And what is it? Because it adds up to 6, Kefka? Is that another fourth wall breaking thing?
See, this would be the time that our Picto or Black Mage, if he would be playing Black Mage, he'd just be doing old school. He'd be doing old school during the mechanic.
What does that mean?
RuneScape.
Oh yeah. Yeah, good mechanic for playing.
Yeah, he does that during Savages all the time. He'll just be doing fucking RuneScape during fucking mechanics.
He's probably just clicking on a tree or something. It's not like he's doing moves.
I mean, I know, but it's still like the fact that he can still do RuneScape and fucking play this game at the same time is still.
I'll give you this, Sly. Saying doing RuneScape is a lot more accurate than playing RuneScape. I'll give you that. Doing RuneScape on the side is very much the correct way of putting that. Yeah, I probably would have done OSRS during DSR, in all honesty. I almost certainly would have done it during DSR at some points. Dude, it would have saved me mentally during top. You have no idea how much old school RuneScape would have saved me mentally during top. It's not during Looper. It's not during Looper. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just kind of a shame that I don't feel like I get to enjoy the second half of the fight, because now we're talking about like we're being like 12, 13 minutes into the fight, getting close to that.
Long.
Yeah, so it's like I haven't had fun with a mechanic since 6 minutes in. Technically before that, because Forsaken ends at like the 6 minute, 40-minute mark. And that's why I am so fucking bored during this fight. And the whole the whole gimmick being the fourth wall breaking and not Kefka being like a trickster really starts to kind of fall on its head for me here.
Yeah.
The other
And
thing as
then
well about Black Hole, visibility is so bad in that mechanic. You take a tether and Big
I
Kefka's
can see that.
behind you, and you're like craning your neck, spinning your camera, being like, "Oh, I wish I had like the UAV mod hack thing. Oh, I wish I had that. I can't see a
Ultra
single
wide.
yeah, you
Ultra
gotta go
wide
buy
doesn't help.
ultra
I need
wide for
I
everyone.
need me
Yeah,
one of those.
I was gonna say ultra wide don't help.
No,
Whoops has
God,
unironically offered to buy people ultra wides in Prague to help with stuff like that. He's like, I will ship you an ultra wide right now.
Damn.
I'm like, or you could just turn.
I'm like spinning my camera 90 degrees constantly during that mechanic to see anything. Oh my lord.
You should raid with Whoops once. It's an ultra wide. Oh man. I mean, yeah, the ultra wide is literally the legal version of the UAV mod, so
Yeah.
don't blame him. It's crazy what your POV looks like in this game if you play it on an ultra wide. There's like a series of YouTube videos that's just the BGM of like ultimate encounters, and they record it in ultra wide, and I'm like, well, that's cheating. Some people know what YouTube videos I'm talking. Some people here just listen to Final Fantasy 14 music on YouTube sometimes. They fucking know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, otherwise, and it ends that the very last thing is not really a nothing burger mechanic, but it's also the most interesting thing Kefka does during the whole fucking phase, other than the limit cut, where he does the steppies. Little steppy
I like the
stomps.
steppies. The steppies are fun. They're a little like pressure check at the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that people mess that up more than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of visual obscurity between his feet. And honestly, if not for fucking Chaos's huge fat ass, I probably wouldn't have as much trouble seeing it. The Chaos, he's literally like, when people complain about Titan getting in their way, this must be what they mean, because the dumpy on this boss is insane.
Oh my god.
He's so fucking large. It's insane. But even then, you just got to know where the orientation is and then do it. Yeah, one last little pressure check. And you want to know what your reward is for doing this all correct, Sly?
What's that?
It's Kefka coming back and going, boring! Face transition.
As if you weren't bored? As if you weren't bored too?
Yeah, Kefka's literally like, oh, dude, wait, I guess Kefka's technically just playing a DPS the whole time too, so I guess he understands it. He literally comes back and yells, boring! And that's how phase 4 begins. Good levity, at the very least. Yeah. I appreciated it after all that. I don't know if everyone else did, but I kind of appreciated it.
I'm not going to lie, whenever we got to phase 4 early in prog, I was so stressed that I hadn't even clocked he had said boring until a handful of pulls in. I didn't hear anything.
Difference between a DPS playing the game and... I'm like, Teehee, boss
he
said
said
funny
something?
thing. Yeah, I'm like, Teehee, boss said funny thing. Renon's like...
we get out the pull, I'm like, damn, when did that happen? The chat log changed.
Why is everyone saying boring in the chat? That's fucked up. We just made it to phase 4, guys. What do you mean?
Yeah,
boring?
that was really interesting. What are we saying?
And then phase 4 thematically continues my disappointment. Unfortunately, it's a fun little phase. Man. No, because it is a fun little phase, but it's Kefka being a target dummy while Chaos and X-Death give you a billion debuffs and are literally like. He does the element mechanic where he does the question marks and then puts question marks on X-Death and Chaos, and that's it. In terms of solving it, it's quite involved. It's kind of like idyllic if it was 40 seconds long, in a sense, which is nice. I think thematically and like I think the actual the functional mechanical like execution is pretty well done. But I'm just like, bro. I'm fucking 14 minutes into the fight. This is Kefka Ultimate. What are you doing? How is this all how is this all you could come up with for Kefka? It's like, well, he's got question marks.
And this is where Hap says, boring.
Boring.
Yeah. I do at least like at the end of the phase, So basically, throughout the resolution of the mechanic, he'll do his thunder lines and his ice cleaves, and they can be real or fake. And then at the very end of the phase, he'll just telegraph either truth or lie for each element, and you'll need to have remembered if the previous ones were true or lie. And then he might, for example, do a fake, which is a true, or he'll do like a true and then a fake, which then becomes a fake and stuff like that. I think that's like quite an interesting, tiny little twist on the format he's done before that feels different enough that you're like, oh, that's interesting when you see it for the first time. Everything else, I feel like honestly, I feel like phase 4 is a very intense pressure check. It's interesting to execute, but it's not exciting, you know?
Yeah, honestly, you want to know what the hardest part about the phase is, Sly? I'm going to blow your fucking mind.
What's
You ready
that?
for this?
Okay.
The heals. The healing and mid check when you're starting the phase.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of
not just like the whole not the whole true false thing. That's not interesting at all, but healing checks.
Yeah, the raid wides hit hard, and there's a lot of them. And that's about it. That's about it.
It's literally like Neo X Death does massive raid wide, Chaos does massive raid wide, Neo X Death does massive raid wide, Chaos does massive raid wide, Neo X Death does massive raid wide. And you're trying to deal with the visual obscurity of those raid wides while healing, while checking truth or lie, while remembering what debuffs you got, while checking the timers on them, and while looking at the elements that someone's hopefully calling out. I don't have to do all that, but that's what's happening. Effectively, he has to do all. I don't have to do most of that. I just remember the element and I'm good. And that's pretty much.
That was the guy calling the elements for my group as well.
That's, to be fair, you're the person paying the most attention to the AoE.
Yeah.
I guess in a way that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also a lot of untargeted mitigation in this fight, which makes it the one time where I wish I maybe hadn't tried going Machinist. Because I was like, oh, Dismantle's normally got some good value in like the last phase and like a couple of uptime phases. And they're like, well, what if it just wasn't any good in this fight? I'm like, you mother... I finally don't play Bard or Dancer. I finally try something, and this is what I get. Even my job choice ended up being fucked, Sly. Like, that's just lost on every regard imaginable.
Your job choice was fucked in the beginning anyway. Like,
Machinist, I think Top gave me a better appreciation for Machinist, because Machinist is a really consistent way to squeeze through DPS checks because they have a lot of control about how they burst and when they burst, and adjusting to 2 minutes changing, and Dismantle being an extra flat mitigation on, or an extra % mitigation on targets. Machinist, I think, is pretty heavily overlooked. It's not the fucking clunker that it has been in the past. Not a great choice for this fight. This is a Bard fight.
Gauge jobs are like traditionally really good in Ultimate, but I feel like Gauge jobs lost a lot of value in this fight compared to how they would have in other Ultimates.
Yeah. This wasn't the one. Yeah, we got to phase 4 and there's 2 Ultima Surges there, and I have a free Dismantle that I won't lose in the final phase. And I said, oh, where do you want my Dismantle? And they said, don't. Because Ultima Upsurge just doesn't hurt very much compared to
it doesn't hurt.
Else.
It's just heal people and maybe put a shield on if you feel like it, and it's okay.
The one place I could use it in the phase, and I got told. I didn't even get told it doesn't matter. I got told don't.
That's so sad. Oh my god, I'm feeling worse for DPS every sentence now.
No, feel worse for Machinist. This is
Save
a
the
Machinist.
DPS.
This is a Machinist thing. This is not an all DPS. This is my job choice that ended up factoring into this part. So, no. Still feel bad for them, but this particular one isn't all of them. Because Feint, listen, I will say this, it's not like you Feint or Addle that. Feint and Addle's not great in that phase. Reprisal's not great in that phase. You basically reprisal. You do it.
I mean, we're still like, the thing is, one of the melees is still going to press that Feint, right?
Yeah. You're still going to press. It'll be on Ultima Upsurge. There's no reason not to.
Right. So why, like,
because Dismantle's
like you said, if you're getting your Dismantle back, if you're getting your Dismantle back, like, why wouldn't you use it? Like, same with Feint.
The problem, and then another problem is in the last phase, the part where it's probably most useful, it's also not good. Like, the part where it's like, oh, I wish I had this. Well, you can't, because it's not good in this one spot. Like, I think Bard is the real winner on this one. Dancer is good too, but I think Minet is literally like unreputed GOAT of ranged mitts / ranged buttons to press here, because the healers are like 20% more healing.
Pretty nice. It's pretty nice. We took Bard, put it that way. We took Bard, and we never once thought, oh, maybe we should swap. It was always, Bard is right, every time.
Yeah, Mantra is great in this fight. Mine is great in this fight.
Yeah,
Like, you're not going to say no to the shield and regen of, improv on Dancer. But if they ask if they swap the Bard, the answer is yes. I'll tell you that much. And then phase 5, I've not gotten it. I stopped progging after having like a few days where we were on phase 4 because we just weren't getting enough hours. We just kept losing hours, even with the little hours we had left. So I was like, I'm gonna stop at this point. I'm gonna step away. Half of our group stopped, and the other half cleared it last night. I think that sounds about right. I think that's about right. So this is where I basically only I've watched the video and have an opinion as a DPS, and it's that I'm a DPS.
It's okay. As a healer, it's also kind of whatever.
Really? It looks at least more fun for you, but there are a lot of I can see what you mean.
Yeah. So talk a little, Rinon, since you have the most experience.
The tanks look like they have the most fun here. And
talk a little bit more about what I like to call Kuja Kefka.
P5 is one thing that it does really well that the other final ultimate phases don't do so well is it has a lot of variety, right? There are far more individual, unique mechanics that you're going to have to deal with throughout the phase. It's not just 3 things that loop. It's closer to like 4, 5, 6 individual components. All of those components are really easy. For example, the auto attacks are you just stand in roles. So you'll have a healer stack, a tank stack, and a DPS stack. And the tank ones are tank busters. They hurt really, really, really bad. And if the tanks aren't on point, they will die to them, which happened to us in our clear, ironically. A tank missed TBN, and it was enough so that he died to the last auto attack. The second mechanic is Exalines, and you will just stand next to the 4th one and dodge into the 1st one, and that's it. It's done. It's a big flashy mechanic, but you actually just step 5 feet to the side and you're finished with it. And that's kind of par for the course for what a lot of the final phases. All of the mechanics are incredibly, incredibly simple. It'll be a case of everyone spread. Some people won't get hit. Now those guys need to spread inside the hitbox. Things like that. With that said, there is one mechanic in the middle of the phase that I think is interesting, which is the second Exaflares.
Oh, the fire one.
Celestria. Okay, so Celestria I had thought was interesting too until I did it.
Well, because as soon as you get your debuff, that's it. The whole thing is done. Yeah, it's done.
Yeah. So I had thought Celestria would be really interesting as well, but it turned out not to be. It's like a circle of towers. There's 3 different elements. It's like the 3 elements Kefka uses, and players are going to have to soak those towers in sequence to make sure that they never get double debuffs from standing in, say, Thunder twice, and every tower gets taken. But the way it ends up working is it's quite literally as simple as you stand at your element, you go clockwise, and then you just always take the next tower you see and never look at anything else ever, never account for anything else ever, and the mechanic's done. And the only people who have to do anything else are the 2 players who don't get an element to start with. And in that case, they just look for whichever element has 2 towers and stand in there and don't look at anything else and don't do anything else ever. And the mechanic resolves. And I was a bit underwhelmed with it.
Yeah.
There is a mechanic in the middle where there's a bunch of exaflares going off. This mechanic is very simple. Basically, on one of the directions, I think it's always intercardinal. I think it's always northwest and northeast, but I can't remember for sure. There'll be some exaflares on one wall, and then there'll be more exaflares on the adjacent wall, and it'll essentially make these 2 lines of safe spots, and you'll go and find the spot in these lines and stand there, and then there's going to be more, and then there's going to be more, and it goes on quickly enough and for long enough that you feel a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of mess going through the arena at a time, and then at the end of it all you have to spread. I think that's interesting to learn, specifically just because it feels very chaotic, and I like chaotic moments where you're feeling on edge. Not particularly hard to do. Aside from that, the mechanics just loop, and then you go into the enrage sequence, which is a bit more interesting for healers. But everything else is literally top the raid, do a shield, throw some targeted mitts on for Ultima Repeater, and watch the tanks do their job, because their job is far more sketchy.
Yeah, that was the thing I noticed is like, at least during the mechanic you talked about with the in and out, the maddening chorus, or maddening orchestra. The tanks go like, it's like 2 separate tank busters, a stack buster, and then like a stack and a flare on the tanks. And like that in theory is really cool. It does boil down to each tank has an invuln to deal with, you know, being the stack, of course. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I was like, what do I do? And they were like, oh, it's like end of top. It's end of top phase 1 for DPS. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I could have at least had to have been part of the stack or something. They could have made no. Just make the tank deal with it. That's why I don't like tank invulns, man. Even just I don't even have to stand in a stack. Like that's not like a mechanically demanding thing. Even that's been taken from me.
Yeah, it was at the point where when we got to final phase, we didn't even consider how that mechanic might work. We were just like, okay, so there's a white thing. We've got tank involved. We'll just tank involve it, and we didn't even know how it worked until after we cleared, because we didn't have to. Which is a shame, I think.
Yeah. I have a question because I haven't seen this. During the enrage, where do you go if you step into the portals?
You go nowhere. You just despawn from the arena completely.
Okay.
So the first time we got, okay, I'm outing myself. The first time we got there, I stood in a black hole because I didn't know what was going on. And we were like, we hadn't seen that far before. So I touched one. It just sucks you off the arena. Your health bar grays out as if you were AOS or something. You're untargetable. And you just sit there and spectate as if your dead body is directly underneath the center of the arena. And you're done. You can't be raised. You don't get to do anything else. You just spectate until the end.
Okay, yeah, because I saw the GIF where all the cruel legends were running in a circle and someone just sidesteps into a black hole. Yeah. And I was like, where did he go? It's the first time I've seen someone actually be in one. So I was like, what happened to that guy?
Yeah, you just despawn completely and you get to watch. Like, the mechanic itself is pretty cool. It's just a tight mitigation and healing check that goes on long enough that you have to stagger things. You know, the classic thing they do on Ultimate where there's a sequence of raid wides where you make a macro of mitigation and you follow the macro of mitigation and then you live. It's that. But the black holes spawning add just enough stress to make it feel exciting.
Yeah, there's also some. Is there a chance you'll ever like rotate the other way, like with the way because there's ground AOE's that come out while you're doing the stack too? Can they cut you off? Or can you just
what
run
strat you use. Like the thing that, because like the strat that my group used, we always started on the northeast intercardinal because we noticed from watching a couple of pulls that if you started on the intercardinal, you could just always go clockwise to the next intercardinal and never do anything else ever. So we just did that, so you didn't have to think. But I think that a lot of strats, especially those starting cardinal, sometimes you have to rotate the opposite way if your path is blocked. But at least with what we did, we didn't even consider it. We just went clockwise every time and stood in the next intercardinal and brain off.
There you go. And that's it. The fight's over. Sly.
And this phase also has a very lenient DPS check, like exceptionally lenient.
Wow.
On our first kill, so obviously people are shaky and probably not playing optimally. We had our tank die, and we still killed it like 8 seconds before enrage or something like that, like a while before enrage. We hadn't finished our 2s when it died, put it that way. So we still had a while to go.
Yeah, not really any totally sweats, I guess. Not as much as some of the other fights, it sounds like. Like top and end of top was big sweat. Big sweat, end of top. Though that's just kind of the process of top being like you had to move something slightly, or like a phase ended at a weird time and and you didn't crit 4 of your Hyoshos in the last phase. That's a product of top being
so
top.
Tight. Yeah, top felt really tight in prog. This was like a completely opposite experience.
Yeah. It's got through DPS checks and DSR mechanics. I'll say this: it's not like DSR has some, but it's not like DSR was ultra strict either. So I can't say too much about it. It was stricter than this, but it wasn't like nothing's top. Top is top. Nothing else close to it. I think that's kind of.
I think that's reasonable.
Discussion. Yeah. Fucking top, man. Yeah, I just have to get it done at some point. I just got to run it real quick. I've already been to everything but phase 5, and I'm not worried about phase 5 as a DPS. So there's an ulti project it and get it done before Evercold. The weapons look nice at the very least. I think they do.
Yeah, the weapons are good. It surprised me with how good they are because I expected them to be exceptionally ugly just because the color scheme is so garish. But yeah, they look nice. They look nice. They've got good effects. The base models are really nice. Pleasantly surprised.
I did like the spear. When I looked at the spear, I was like, let me just at least check out the spear for this. I'm like,
yeah, it's pretty good. I also think I haven't actually seen the death animation, but I know what's on the arena waiting for you afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's the 8-bit Kefka sits there with his laughing animation going. Just like after you clear. Yeah, that. But literally like the SNES, pixel art.
Yeah.
But like a 3D, like Minecraft looking ass brick version of it, I suppose. Like if somebody made that Minecraft, I wouldn't be surprised,
I love that it stays there as a physical object in the arena, so you can take pictures with him. I think that was really wholesome. I think they should do things like that more often. I know that they did with the Field of Flowers, for example, in Fru, and they've done it again here. I think they should keep doing that. I think that's like a really nice little Easter egg for people who clear.
Yeah, I like, honestly, Alpha and Omega, they fuck off through a portal. They should just stuck around a little bit.
Yeah, they should have. Yeah, like that's the kind of thing that they should do in all of the ultimates. Just keep a little Easter egg for everybody to have a bit of flavor when they take their screenshot with.
Oh, imagine if at the end of DSR, if Hoshfont Shield is just on the arena.
Oh my god, that's so.
Why would you do that? Why
He's
would you
alive
do
in
that?
that timeline. What do you mean? It'd just be cool. He's alive in that timeline. It's his fucking fault that this is even happening. Everyone's like, save him. And they're like, never mind. Things are way worse in this future.
God, that's 50 different kinds of fucked up right there, Habs. Jesus Christ.
Would you say that idea felt like a shot through the heart?
This line of conversation does not make me happy.
Let's see.
You can't block this conversation out of your mind, Sly.
I can drink it down. Just I have options. I'll wait. Fuck.
You'll wait.
Yeah.
That's right. I'll really spearhead this conversation.
There we go.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, like some wild turkey will be good right now. Excuse me, Dana. Yep. Oh, wild turkey.
I haven't had a successful show if I haven't made him drink before the show's over.
Good old wild turkey. 8 years.
Yeah, somebody said bad puns call for bad whiskey. Get the Elvis.
No, Elvis is. I dumped Elvis down the toilet like weeks ago. Nah, we're done with that shit. There will be no Elvis in this house ever.
Besides, I don't think when you want to stop this particular line of puns, using a dead guy's fucking name on your whiskey is quite possibly could be the worst fucking choice.
It's just that the whiskey is horrible, and you can't even call it whiskey. Jesus Christ. God, that's
I really want to try it. I need to know.
Okay. By all means, go ahead. I tried to stop you. As a good friend, I tried to stop you. Go ahead.
Like a good neighbor. Sure. State Farm is there. All right. But that's that's largely a discussion for UMAD. I think even with its ups and downs, I do give the fight a decent amount of credit. It does try a handful of new things. It doesn't really it does, I would say it breaks the mold so much as it doesn't rest on its laurels. in a sense. You know, it tries to be something different than what we've had before, and I think it succeeds at that.
But y'all were so disappointed with it, though. Y'all were so disappointed with the majority.
I was more disappointed thematically. There are parts that I think don't stand up, you know, on
and that's a lot of parts in this fight. And that's the thing. I'm like, for a fight that like is quote unquote, you know, thematically, you know, memey and whatnot at some parts, and then other parts y'all are like, oh fuck. Well, not the healers, but you know, DPS wise, you're like, fuck, what do I do? I'm bored.
I don't think that's that bad though. Like, here, okay, how do I put this?
Okay.
Supports have been suffering for way longer than I have. And if I got to take a bullet so that they can have some fun for once, I'm okay with that.
My hero.
Like my hero.
It could be so much worse of a fight. Like there are so many, like there are things they could have done better. There are things they could have gauged as, you know, made them more interesting. But through and through, it's like it's like an 8 out of 10 fight. If DSR is a 10 out of 10, this is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would actually rate it the same even as a healer. I honestly think this is the hardest healing fight in the game to prog. There's just so much you have to pay attention to, and it's a really good mixture of mitigation and single target healing and AoE healing. It's fun, it's engaging, it's good to do. I think it lets itself down in the second half as well. I do think that it spends too much time diverting itself from the parts that make it really interesting and kind of going on random tangents, which is a bit of a shame. But I think it would probably be my second or third favorite ultimate despite that, because what it does well, it does so well. And I think that's really good. It's definitely no DSR, but okay, I didn't like Fru very much. So the way I would say it is it's no DSR, but at least it's no Fru either. So I'll take that.
Wow.
I know quite a few people, especially healers, who share that opinion. I've spoken to so many healers who feel that way about Fru. It's funny. A lot more healers feel that way about Fru than it feels almost anyone else does.
Yeah, that fight was not interesting to heal at all.
No. Yeah. Oh, that was another thing. The music is okay. I almost said ass. The music's not ass, but the way they use it is ass.
The way they you did say this the other week. Yeah, the way they utilize the music. Yeah.
Like everything's wrong about the music. Every single thing they could have done right, they did wrong. Which is crazy, but true. Think about this. You start with just the Final Fantasy VI boss theme. Not inherently bad. You move into like 40 seconds of the first verse of Dancing Mad, like 40 seconds of the second, 40 seconds of the third, and then you get a full phase. God, Kefka's fine music-wise. Like, it's the music you'd expect to play during it. It's the right theme. It's as good as it ever was. But then it goes back to the phase 1 theme, which I get. You're fighting bosses from Final Fantasy, you know, like I get what the vibe is going for us, but that carries through fucking all of phase 3, all of phase 4, and then for some reason with the version of Dancing Mad they use in phase 5, they start from the first part, so you don't even get to hear the majority of that version of Dancing Mad in the actual fight. It's so weird what they decided.
And again, I never paid too much attention in phase 5 to the music because I was paying more attention to the fight, but like looking at it, but like it's not even a newer version of Dancing Mad for phase 5, right? It's just the same version.
No. Correct? It's the version they used in the trailer, but they use the start of it. They don't use the part that's in the trailer. You will never hear in the actual fight, even if it's the same track, because Dancing Mad's 10 minutes long. So
they could have did something new for.
They should have started at the end of that. Like, should have used that version of Dancing Mad.
They could have done something. I really think they should have done something new for Kuja Kefka, because I mean, it's a Kefka you've never seen before, right?
Yeah, but still, I think it was a good theme choice. They just shouldn't have started from the beginning of Dancing Mad. They should have started from the fourth part.
I don't play a lot of Dissidia. Did they do something different in Dissidia for Kefka? Music
I mean,
wise?
the city of it, they can't do anything different for Kefka. It's just, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, the music also absolutely massive letdown, in my opinion. And made prog even more boring. Boring!
Boring!
I do have to admit, this is the first prog I ever listened to my own music in, ever. I always listen to in-game music, but this prog I didn't about halfway through. So I suppose that speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just a weird choice. That's it. I really don't know how else to put it. It was just weird. And it didn't work, in my opinion. That's it.
Boring.
Boring. Yeah. But still, like I said, 8 out of 10. The things that disappoint me about it, I think, don't take away from the overall design. But I'll add this last little bit. Kind of wish they just generically stuck with the order and did Hades. I'll say it.
I wonder if that's what they're going to do next. Like we're kind of doing it.
Or like a lot of people thought, do you think a Nier Ultimate would have been better?
No.
Is
it messed up to say that? God, I hope not. Is that messed up to say?
No, it's not, because you're in the right headspace for that, because a lot of people like did not like Nier.
I mean, a chaotic for Nier will be cool when they do it eventually, if they do it, if that's like a thing they're actually planning on doing. That'll be cool. That'll absolutely be cool.
But it just makes me worried for it. Just really makes me
It would have had better
Eva.
music. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact.
True,
the whole thing would have been copyright striked, and my YouTube stream would have been taken down. But it would have been cool.
Right.
They could have made that part of Mecha Puzzle. You gotta fight the copyright claim.
I'll make that. Listen, just as divine retribution, I'll design a fucking Nier Ultimate. I got you. Here's the core mechanic. Like, I got it. Here's the thing. The core mechanic of the puzzle is a debuff called save data, and you have to manipulate your save data by doing certain mechanics certain ways throughout the fight, and you have to have fully deleted your save data by the time the boss tries to load your save data to mimic ending E in order to get the true ending. Bam, I did it. All right. You're welcome.
I'm just like, I'm kind of worried about Eva. Like, I want it to go so well. I want them to treat my robots well. Please just don't fuck it up. Please.
I mean, it's a 24-man. Like, the Nier 24-man fights, a lot of people do like. They drag on for too long after the what's it called? They did the number squish, and then then it just dragged on too long. But like, a lot of people do actually still like the 24-man. I don't, but that doesn't mean a lot of other people don't. So like, I'm not afraid of them screwing that up in any capacity, in all honesty.
Just don't mess up my anime robots, please.
I think you'll be fine. I think your anime robots will be perfectly fine, Sly. I've got a lot of confidence in it for you.
Plus, the music's gonna be amazing anyway.
Yeah, the visuals will be great. It'll have good music. I'm sure it'll be fun to do, right? And that's kind of all it needs.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I don't think you should be worried about that, Sly. You'll be all right.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, but I'm probably not wrong. So you're good. Probably not.
Probably not.
Sure hope for your sake I'm not. Sure hope for my sake I'm not. I don't want it to be boring. I want it to be good, So yeah. That sounds, well, fingers crossed, man. Yeah. But yeah, I think that covers everything that we need to talk about when it comes to UMAD, unless there's something that I didn't bring up that I think I need to bring up.
Oh, is there anything else?
Rinon?
I think I suppose one thing that I like as well is that they don't overly rely on body checks again. Thumbs up, good job, keep doing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
I agree. That's a good thing.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah. No.
I'm glad they're kind of moving away from that. Like I mean, a body check every now and then is, I think, is okay, but
yeah, and they do have them occasionally. A lot of the time, So it's the guy dies, everyone else gets damage down, practice the phase, and then reset. And I think that's a
Right.
good way of handling it.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and like even some of the things that are technical body checks don't feel as like when somebody screws up wind and it starts bouncing to everybody else, like that's not that big a deal. Or if like a wind is missing, or like the limit cuts, sometimes you get lucky if somebody dies and gets back up or something. Like there's weird things that can happen that don't automatically mean a wipe. And early on, there's a lot of like, oh, we messed up phase 1, but we can practice Forsaken.
Right.
Early on. And when you need to get that right, like in your early prog, very fucking important to make sure you can do Forsaken consistently. It's pretty fucking important, I got to admit. So
I think that might be pretty fucking important.
Yeah. You also think it might be pretty fucking important.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking important. Fucking right it is. I'm getting, I don't know why, but the way we started saying that was, have you ever seen Mr. In Between?
Oh my god!
I highly recommend it. I hear it in the protagonist's voice. If you have not seen it, I've seen clips of it throughout the years, but I finally watched it recently. Very fucking good. Are you hearing it in Ray's voice?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
It works. But yeah, it's pretty fucking important, mate. All right. Well, with that, I think we're ready to wrap things up. Thanks for making the time to come on the show today, Rinon.
Yeah, thank you, Rinon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun to yap.
Yeah. With that, you could do your outro, and we'll get things wrapped up so you can have the rest of your night to yourself.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. If you guys want, my YouTube is Rin Banana. I make videos and stuff. Also, I'll be at EU FanFest next week. If you'll also be there, maybe I'll see you. That would be nice.
Excellent. Make sure you have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Sly, it's your turn.
Yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/Sly, aka Gray Fox. You can find me on Twitter, Bluesky, Sly, aka Gray Fox, youtube.com/The Velvet Room, all that jazz. I've just been doing a lot of Grand Blue. The numbers must go up. Stonks, baby. Gotta get them numbers up, baby. So I've already defied infinity. I've already got my Galanza pretty much what he needs. He's good. I am a Galanza enjoyer. Actually, just my Vasaraga just got max because of all the AFK grinding during the show. Hey, I just need to get him his terminus. That's it. But yeah, I'm still helping people out in Grand Blue and whatnot. Not a lot this month, but in the coming weeks, months, yeah, there's just gonna be such a fuck ton of games that we'll be doing all the things, and of course, plenty of bourbon. Today is Friday in California, so it is bourbon night tonight. So we will be having some bourbon, watching some bourbon vids, all that jazz. So if you ever need to know about cocktails or bourbon, excuse me, I'm your guy. I'm the bourbon dad. I'm the bourbon dad of light or darkness, whatever you prefer. And thank you again for an awesome birthday weekend. It was long and amazing. God, so many parties. How you doing? But yeah, like it was just such an amazing weekend. Thank you to everyone who helped celebrate it. And thank you for all the good bourbon.
It's a lot of drinks back there.
Yeah, like I recently had to move all my bourbon from the bonus room. Well, not all of it, but say half of it to the top. All my cocktail stuff's on the bottom now. But yeah, I can just get bourbon behind me.
Yay!
Yay! Haps, what about you? What are you doing? What are you doing? Life.
Find me, Mr. Happy 1227. Doing anything except playing Final Fantasy 14 Mobile, which got its official end of service announcement today.
Oh no!
Huge surprise!
Oh shucks! Jeez.
Yeah, unfort, but not all that surprising. I had already made the notice that the website was taken down last weekend, So the fact that it was confirmed that it's end of service, unfortunate, but not all that surprising. Fortunately, we have plenty of other things coming up. I'm mostly waiting on September for Onimusha and Fortune's Weave as somebody who's brand new to Fire Emblem. I will not be streaming my first playthrough of Fortune's Weave. I'll probably stream my second one because Sophie and I have been going through that entire... I've been going through a bunch of games. We're working on Engage right now after finishing.
Sophie is so cultured. I love that for you. Sophie is so cultured.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm having a lot more fun playing Engage than I did playing Three Houses because the Three Houses missions were really fucking boring. So
yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they were.
I'm enjoying having some harder missions, even if I'm playing what is not as good of a story. So
Haps, will you be getting in the cockpit in
I'm not playing Ace
October?
Combat. No, I probably.
God damn it, man!
I mean, I want to. I love Ace Combat. I always tell people that if you've never played them, they're great games. I'm a big Ace Combat fan.
Amazing games, amazing soundtrack.
But October is already kind of packed for me with both game releases I care about and things that I need to actually be doing that month. Plus, you have JP FanFest at the end. We will be doing a prediction / like reminder show next week, the night before FanFest.
Will we?
So actually, I'm sorry, I meant to ask you this, Sly. It was, do you want to? So the big thing is that the live letter is the time when we would normally do State of the Realm. It's around noon. So the only other option is to. We could
watch
do a
party?
Sunday. I mean, we could do a watch party for the live letter if you want. I don't know if I want to do the 3.
Yeah, that would kind of kill two birds, one stone, honestly.
I mean, it's either that or we do a Sunday show because by the time the show.
I mean, Sunday, I don't care. Sundays are usually my days off, so I don't give a fuck.
Well, I mean, do you want to show up and do a show on your day off, or would you rather have your day off?
Sure. No, I'm good.
Because I'm going to be tired as fuck by the time we get to that live letter show already. That might have to be the most conducive to a watch party setting.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about it the whole time. So yeah, we'll do State of the Realm on Sunday next week, and we'll do it on the keynote, specifically on the keynote, because I sincerely doubt we'll make it to the live letter. That Friday, we can cover the live letter instead. That Friday is going to be post-patch, which means there's going to be North Horn shit to do too. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Crazy week, isn't it?
Carrots.
Yeah, I don't even have a set group. I'm in the if there's a spot, I'll go into Fork Tower Magic after Kefka. I signed up and I was like, whatever happens. I'm just gonna chill for a little bit. I'm gonna work on fucking North Horn and just spam it for a few days, but not go too crazy on the Fork Tower Magic attempts because I just don't feel like it, quite frankly.
No, you're gonna go crazy on carrots. That's what you're gonna go crazy on.
Bro, I have like 50 carrots. You think I'm gonna be working on 2,000 fucking carrots? Yeah, and the new big fish will be that week too. The legendaries for Dawn Trail will be that week too. I got a Cinder surprise attempt tomorrow at 9:50 a.m. 16 windows deep on that stupid fucking egg. Yeah, I'm talking to you, you stupid fucking egg. Look at this stupid fucking egg right here. Look at him just fucking looking at you. He's like Sauron if he was trapped in an egg when he was a baby. That's how Sauron was born, clearly. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got going on. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go on into a short post show, and then I'll probably play some Pal World with Sophie, because that's the other thing I've been doing a lot of. It's why I just got through Defying Infinity today, because I've barely been playing Grand Blue while I've been playing Pal World on the side, too.
How many of the Defying Infinity's fights do you have left?
I'm done. I finished it all in one day.
Oh, you're done? Okay,
yeah.
good.
The only one that took more than one attempt was Hierarch.
Lucilius?
Hierarch. Hierarch's the only one that took a second attempt, or 3 attempts, technically. It's because we were running double support and didn't have enough stun power, and then we swapped that, and then it was fine after that, really. No, Bub pissed me the fuck off. That's the one we got the lowest grade on, at the very least.
Oh, yeah, still same. Yeah, I actually got a S++ on Lucilius, which is odd, but... Yeah, Bub
we did
fucking
too,
sucks.
Actually. I'd have to check. Our Lucilius was super fucking easy, in all honesty, but that was surprising. We had Vayne, which helps.
Ours, we had a good AI Cagliostro.
I do have my AI Cagliostro, and she does do work.
Yeah. We had one yesterday. It was fucking terrible. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Yes. Thank you again to Rinon for making the time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you for FanFest next week, with the State of the Realm on Sunday after the FanFest festivities die down. We'll do it while the concert's going on or something like that. So We'll go on into a short post show, and then we will see you next week. And until then, bid you adieu. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Bye.